Before dinosaurs ruled the earth, there was a stranger world, a world of giant sea scorpions, armored fish with blade-like jaws, insects with wings like birds, swamp predators with massive fangs, and saber-toothed hunters that walked the earth long before mammals or dinosaurs dominated the land. These creatures came first. Some ruled ancient oceans, some crawled through coal forests, some hunted across the supercontinent Pangaea, and then, almost all of them vanished. Today we're going back before the dinosaurs, to uncover the monsters that ruled Earth first. Anomalocaris, the first nightmare predator. Long before dinosaurs, before reptiles, before forests, and even before fish ruled the seas, Earth's oceans were filled with strange alien-looking creatures. One of the most famous predators from this world was Anomalocaris. It lived during the Cambrian period, more than 500 million years ago, when animal life was still new and strange. Anomalocaris had a long, flexible body, swimming flaps along its sides, large eyes, and two curved feeding appendages near its mouth. For its time, it was huge, in a sea filled with small creatures. Anomalocaris would have seemed like a giant. It was not a dinosaur. It was not a fish. It was not a sea reptile. It was something much older, a predator from the first great explosion of animal life. Cameroceras, the tentacled giant of ancient seas. Millions of years later, the oceans produced another kind of monster. Cameroceras was a giant straight-shelled cephalopod. Imagine something related to a squid or nautilus, but with a long cone-shaped shell stretching behind it like a spear. It lived during the Ordovician period, long before sharks, marine reptiles, or whales became ocean predators. Its body was protected inside a hard shell, while tentacles reached out from the front. It likely moved slowly through the water, but in its ancient ocean it may have been one of the top predators. For smaller animals, the shadow of Cameroceras would have been terrifying. It was not fast like a shark. It did not need to be. It was massive, strange, armored, and built for a world where life was still experimenting with what a predator could be. Jaekelopterus, the giant sea scorpion. If there is one pre-dinosaur creature that looks like it belongs in a horror movie, it is Jaekelopterus. This was a giant eurypterid, often called a sea scorpion, but that name does not fully capture how strange it was. Jaekelopterus had a long segmented body, powerful swimming limbs, and enormous claw-like appendages near its mouth. Some estimates suggest it could reach over 8 feet long, making it one of the largest arthropods ever known. It lived during the Devonian period, in waters very different from modern oceans. It may have hunted fish and other aquatic animals, using its claws to seize prey and pull it toward its mouth. Picture a scorpion, a lobster, and a nightmare combined into one animal. Now make it longer than a human. That was Jaekelopterus. Dunkleosteus, the armored fish with bone-blade jaws. Before Megalodon, before Mosasaurus, and long before the famous marine reptiles of the dinosaur age, the seas were ruled by armored fish. The most famous of them was Dunkleosteus. Dunkleosteus lived during the late Devonian period and belonged to a group called placoderms, armored fish with heavy bony plates protecting the head and front of the body. But the terrifying part was its mouth. Instead of normal teeth, Dunkleosteus had sharp bony plates that worked like blades. When it opened and closed its jaws, those plates could slice into prey with tremendous force. Dunkleosteus was not sleek like a modern shark. It was more like a swimming tank. Its head was armored, its face looked almost mechanical, and in the ancient Devonian seas, it would have been one of the most intimidating predators alive. Arthropleura, the giant crawling titan. Now we leave the water and enter the Carboniferous forests. This was a world of swampy wetlands, towering plants, and thick, humid air. And crawling through this world was Arthropleura. Arthropleura was a huge millipede-like creature, one of the largest land arthropods ever discovered. Some individuals may have reached more than 2 meters long. That means an animal like a giant armored carpet could have moved across the ancient forest floor, passing between roots, fallen branches, and thick vegetation. Despite its terrifying appearance, Arthropleura was probably not a predator. It may have fed mostly on decaying plant material, but imagine seeing one in real life. A multi-legged animal longer than a person, moving slowly through a misty coal forest. Even if it was harmless, it would still feel monstrous. Meganeura, the giant flying hunter. The Carboniferous sky had monsters too. One of the most famous was Meganeura, a giant dragonfly-like insect. Its wingspan could reach roughly the size of a bird's wingspan, making it one of the most iconic giant insects of the prehistoric world. Meganeura was not exactly a modern dragonfly, but it looked close enough that people often describe it that way. It flew through humid forests, hunting other insects in the air. To small carboniferous animals, Meganeura would have been a fast, glittering predator, a shadow with wings. The thought of an insect this large flying past your face is unsettling, but in its own world, Meganeura was simply part of the ecosystem, a hunter in a time when arthropods grew to sizes that seem impossible today. Gaiasia, the cold swamp-fanged monster. One of the strangest pre-dinosaur monsters is also one of the most fascinating. Gaiasia lived around 280 million years ago in what is now Namibia. It was a large salamander-like predator with a broad, flat skull and powerful interlocking fangs. Unlike many famous Permian animals from warmer regions, Gaiasia lived in a colder swamp ecosystem in the far south of ancient Pangaea. That makes it especially interesting. It shows that dangerous predators were not only living in tropical fossil worlds, they were also thriving in colder, darker environments. Gaiasia looked like a creature built to wait. It may have rested near the bottom of ancient lakes or swamps, mouth ready to snap down on fish or anything else that came too close. This was not a fast land predator. It was a trap, a living ambush hidden in dark water. Dimetrodon, the false dinosaur. Few pre-dinosaur animals are as famous as Dimetrodon, and few are misunderstood as often. Dimetrodon is commonly mistaken for a dinosaur, but it lived millions of years before dinosaurs appeared. It was not a dinosaur at all. It was a synapsid, part of the broader group related to the ancestry of mammals. Dimetrodon had a massive skull, sharp teeth, a low sprawling body, and a tall sail on its back. Its name means 2 measures of teeth, because it had different types of teeth in its jaws, including large stabbing canines. This made Dimetrodon one of the most powerful predators of its time. Its sail may have helped with display, body temperature control, or other functions scientists still discuss. But visually, the sail made Dimetrodon unforgettable. In the early Permian, it was one of the great land predators. Long before T-Rex, there was Dimetrodon. Gorgonops, the saber-toothed before mammals. If one predator captures the terror of the late Permian, it is Gorgonops. Gorgonops belonged to the Gorgonopsians, a group of saber-toothed therapsids. They were not mammals, but they were closer to mammals than dinosaurs were. Gorgonops had a long skull, powerful jaws, and large canine teeth that curved downward like blades. These predators were among the top hunters of their ecosystems. They were strong enough to overpower prey and equipped with teeth that looked shockingly modern in their brutality. When people think of saber-toothed animals, they usually imagine Ice Age cats, but the saber-toothed design appeared much earlier. Long before Smilodon, the Permian world had already created its own fanged killers. Inostrancevia, the final Permian super predator. Near the end of the Permian, one of the most dramatic predators appeared. Inostrancevia was a large saber-toothed Gorgonopsian. It had a long skull, a powerful body, and terrifying canine teeth. Inostrancevia is especially fascinating because it lived near the end of an age when ecosystems were beginning to collapse. This was a world under stress. The climate was changing. Food chains were unstable. Many species were disappearing. And into that chaos came a saber-toothed predator filling the role of top hunter. For a brief moment, Inostrancevia stood near the top of the food chain, but it could not escape what was coming. The Permian extinction would wipe out most species on Earth. The age of these monsters was ending. Lystrosaurus, the survivor after the apocalypse. After so many monsters, Lystrosaurus may not look terrifying at first. It was a squat, beaked, tusked herbivore. But Lystrosaurus earns its place because it survived one of the worst disasters in Earth's history. At the end of the Permian period, massive environmental collapse devastated life on land and sea. Many of the great pre-dinosaur monsters vanished. Gorgonopsians disappeared. Armored herbivores disappeared. Entire ecosystems broke apart. But Lystrosaurus survived. And in the harsh world that followed, it became incredibly widespread. It was not the biggest. It was not the deadliest. But it may have been one of the toughest. Sometimes the most important creature is not the monster that dominates the world, but the one that survives after the monsters are gone. The pre-dinosaur world was not empty. It was filled with strange experiments, alien predators in Cambrian seas, tentacled giants in ancient oceans, armored fish with blade-like jaws, giant arthropods crawling through swamp forests, sail-backed hunters stalking Permian plains, and saber-toothed predators ruling before mammals ever rose. Then catastrophe changed everything. The Permian extinction nearly reset life on Earth. Many of the old rulers disappeared, and in the world that followed, new animals began to rise. Eventually, dinosaurs would inherit the Earth, but they were not the first monsters. They were the next chapter. The past is far stranger than we think, and this is only one chapter. Subscribe to hear more about extinct creatures that came before us.